I was walking through the city the other day, navigating around a construction site where they were digging the foundation for yet another high-rise,
Yeah.
and I looked down at the dirt.
Okay.
Just raw red earth exposed under all the concrete.
Uh-huh.
And it kind of hit me. We usually treat land like it's just the floor.
The floor, what do you mean?
Yeah, the floor. Yeah, it's static. It's just the thing you stand on while you do the important stuff. You build on it, you walk on it, you pave over it. We don't really think of the land itself as doing anything.
Ah, I see what you're saying.
But looking at the sources for today, especially this chapter on land resources, I realized that in a country like India, land isn't the floor. It's the main character.
It is.
And it is a character that is currently getting squeezed to death.
That is a much, much more accurate way to see it.
Okay.
If you look at the sheer physics of India, we are in a very high-stakes situation.
Right.
We have a fixed geographical boundary. The land isn't stretching. We aren't annexing new territory. But the pressure on that finite asset is, well, it's exploding.
That is the central conflict we're unpacking today. It's basically a cage match.
A cage match. I like that.
Over 1 billion people, a rapidly growing industrial economy, and a massive agricultural sector, all fighting for the same fixed square kilometers. How do you feed the population, build the smart cities, construct the expressways, and somehow keep the forests alive, all in the same piece of turf?
Well, the short answer is you usually don't.
Something have to give.
Something always has to give, and usually what gives is the ecological stability of the land itself.
Well, before we get into the heavy doom and gloom, I have to tease a specific aha moment we are going to hit later. It's about forests.
Yes. The forests.
The government data says our forest area is increasing. That sounds great, right?
On the surface, it sounds fantastic.
But it turns out, in the bureaucratic world, a forest doesn't actually need to have trees in it.
It sounds like a riddle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When is a forest not a forest? But you are absolutely right. This is one of the biggest traps in Indian geography for aspirants. A huge one. You can have a bald mountain with zero vegetation, and the government might legally classify it as a forest. We're going to unravel exactly why that happens and why it matters so much for your exam.
I can't wait to get into that.
No.
But first, welcome everyone to this special edition deep dive. We are tackling the NCERT Class 12 textbook, India, People and Economy, specifically Chapter 5, Land Resources and Agriculture.
And we should be very clear, we're doing this explicitly for the Simplified UPSC by PTP community.
Exactly.
If you are listening to this, you likely aren't just here for casual trivia. You are probably in the trenches preparing for the UPSC Civil Services exam. Our mission today is to take this, let's be honest, sometimes dry academic text and turn it into something dynamic that you can actually use.
Something you can use to answer questions in the exam hall.
Precisely.
We aren't just reading the book. We are linking every single concept to UPSC previous year questions, PYQs, to show you how the examiner thinks, how they frame these topics.
It's all about connecting the dots.
It is. Now, before we open the file, I have a humble request. If you are getting value from this breakdown, and we hope you are, please hit that subscribe button on the Simplified UPSC by PPP YouTube channel right now.
It sounds like a small thing, but it really does help the algorithm find other serious aspirants just like you. And if you are capable, and we mean only if you are capable, please consider supporting the team on Patreon.
It's true. Creating these deep dives, it takes a lot of time and resources, and your support ensures we can keep the lights on and keep bringing you this high-density content.
And on that note, a massive, enthusiastic shout-out to all our current supporters and patrons. You are literally the engine behind this entire operation. We couldn't do it without you.
Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, don't worry about scrambling to take notes while you're driving or cooking or working out. We have you covered.
Yes, free notes with practice PYQs are available on our public Telegram channel.
And for those who want the VIP treatment, the full archive of all the videos in this series, plus premium organized notes, detailed breakdowns, extra PYQs, and model means answers, you can DM us on the public Telegram channel to join the private Telegram library.
It is a goldmine if you want to streamline your prep. Seriously.
All right. Don't forget to like the video and leave a comment below. Let us know which part of the chapter tripped you up the most. Okay, housekeeping done. Let's get into the dirt. Section 1, the land use puzzle.
Let's do it. Records versus reality.
I want to start with a distinction that honestly confused me when I first read the notes. The text mentions geographical area and reporting area. Now, in my head, India's India, the borders are on the map. Why do we have two different numbers for the size of the country?
That is a great question because it highlights the difference between, let's call it theory, and bureaucratic reality.
Okay.
Think of geographical area as the satellite view, the God's eye view. It is what the Survey of India tells us. It includes everything inside the international boundaries. That number is fixed. It is the physical reality.
So that's the map on the wall, the big picture.
Exactly. But reporting area is what the Land Revenue Department actually knows about. Imagine you are a tax collector or a surveyor in, say, the 1950s. You have to physically go to a plot of land, measure it, and write down in a ledger what it is being used for.
You have to put boots on the ground.
You have to put boots on the ground. Is it a farm? Is it a swamp? Is it a village?
Okay, so reporting area is the land we have actually visited and logged, the land that's on the books.
Precisely. But here's the catch. You can't go everywhere. Some terrain in the Northeast is incredibly rugged and inaccessible, even today.
Makes sense.
And significantly, parts of Jammu and Kashmir are currently under illegal occupation by Pakistan and China.
Yeah.
You cannot send an Indian revenue surveyor there to measure the fields.
Of course, that's a political and practical impossibility.
So the reporting area is basically India minus the parts we can't get to or measure accurately.
So it's always slightly smaller than the total geographical area.
Exactly. And this is crucial. All the land use statistics in the NCERT, when we say X% is forest or Y% is agriculture, are based on the reporting area, not the total geographical area.
Okay, that clarifies the baseline. So the Revenue Department has this big ledger, and they slice up all the reported land into specific categories. Let's walk through these because some of them sound suspiciously similar.
They do. It's easy to get them mixed up.
You mentioned the forest paradox earlier. Let's unpack that one first.
Right. This is a classic prelims trap. In the land revenue records, forest is a legal status. It is an administrative area.
What does that mean, administrative?
It means if the government notifies a piece of land, they publish a notice in the Gazette saying this land is now a forest, then it goes into this column in the ledger. It does not matter what is actually on the ground.
So wait, I could have a rocky, barren patch of land, but if the government signs a paper saying this is now a forest, the statistics for forest area go up.
Bingo! You've got it, even if there isn't a single tree for miles and miles.
Kind of absurd.
It is, and that is why you have to distinguish between forest area, which is the administrative classification, and actual forest cover, which is what we see from satellites, the actual green stuff.
Ideally, they should match up, right?
Ideally, yes. We want the legal forest to actually be green. But often, the administrative area is larger than the actual green cover. So if you see a statement in the exam saying an increase in forest area automatically implies an increase in forest cover, that statement is
False. Dead wrong.
dead wrong. It's a subtle but deadly distinction.
Okay, got it. Next category. Land put to non-agricultural uses. This sounds pretty straightforward. This is civilization.
It's the concrete footprint. That's the best way to think about it. Settlements, both rural villages and sprawling urban cities. Infrastructure like roads, railways, canals, factories, shops.
So if you build a mall on what used to be a rice paddy,
that land moves from the net sown area column to the non-agricultural use column.
and given how our economy is growing, I have to assume this category is just exploding.
It is the fastest expanding category on the list. And remember the cage match we talked about?
The fixed piece of land.
It's a zero-sum game. If non-agricultural use goes up, something else must go down. You can't print more land.
So it's eating into other categories.
Usually it eats into two things: agricultural land, which is a problem, and wastelands, which can sometimes be a good thing.
Okay, speaking of which, let's look at wastelands. The text mentions barren and wastelands, and then culturable wasteland. Again, to a layman, these sound identical.
Yeah, waste is waste, right?
Exactly.
Not to a planner. The difference is all about technology and potential. Barren and wastelands are the really tough spots. Think ravines, steep rock faces in the Himalayas, the salt flats and the Rann of Kutch.
Ways you just can't farm.
With our current technology, we cannot farm there. It is economically impossible. So that's truly useless for farming right now.
Okay, so that's the hard stuff. What about culturable wasteland?
This is different. This is land that could be farmed. It has potential. The soil is okay. The slope isn't too bad. But for whatever reason, it has been left uncultivated for more than 5 years.
Why 5 years? Is that some kind of scientific cycle?
No, it's not scientific. It's just an administrative cutoff. A line in the sand to distinguish it from fallows, which we'll get to. Think of culturable wasteland as a backup hard drive for the country.
A backup hard drive. I like that.
It's a reserve. If we really, really needed to, we could invest in it, reclaim this land, and add it to our agricultural pool.
Okay, so that leads us to fallows. I always thought fallow just meant a lazy farmer who didn't plant anything for a season.
No, quite the opposite. It's actually a very smart farmer who understands soil chemistry, even if they don't know the scientific terms.
Love so.
Look, soil gets tired. It's not a machine. If you grow crops back to back year after year, you suck all the nitrogen and other nutrients right out of it. Traditionally, before we had bags of urea and chemical fertilizer, the only way to recharge the soil was to let it rest.
Give it a nap.
Exactly. A soil nap. That is what fallow is. Current fallow is land left resting for 1 year or less. You harvest, you wait a season, let the natural vegetation grow back and rot into the soil, and then you plant again.
And if the nap goes on for longer?
If you leave it resting for between 1 and 5 years, it is called fallow, other than current fallow. It's just a longer rest period, maybe for poorer soils.
And if you leave it for more than 5 years?
Then it crosses that 5-year line and becomes culturable wasteland. See? It's all about the timeline. Less than 1 year, 1 to 5 years, and more than 5 years.
Okay, I've got the buckets now. We have the paper forests, the concrete jungle, the useless land, the backup land, and the sleeping land. And finally, the most important one, net sown area.
The food factory. This is the physical land where crops are actually standing and growing right now. The engine room of our food security.
So, looking at the data, the source material compares the year 1961 to 2002-03. That is a 40-year window. A lot changed in India during that time.
A huge amount. We went from a purely agrarian, almost socialist state to a mixed, liberalizing economy.
What is the story the data tells us? What went up and what went down?
It tells the story of that exact economic transition. So 2 major categories went up significantly. First, as we discussed, forest area went up.
Mostly due to the paperwork, the administrative changes.
Yes, a lot of it was better demarcation of land and notifying areas. But the second big jump was land put to non-agricultural uses.
Urbanization and infrastructure.
Exactly. We built cities, we built dams, we built highways. That land had to come from somewhere.
And where did it come from?
Well, ideally, we wanted it to come from barren and wastelands. And some of it did. The barren category actually shrank over this period.
So that's a success story then.
It is, in a way. It means we took useless ravines or bad land and built something productive on it. We reclaimed it. That's a win.
Okay, but there must be a catch.
There is. And here is the warning light on the dashboard. The net sown area, the land growing our food, has stagnated. In fact, in some recent years, it has actually declined slightly.
So let me get this straight. The population has doubled or tripled,
Yes.
but the physical amount of land growing food is staying flat or even shrinking.
Correct. And to make it even more worrying, at the same time, we see an increase in current fallows.
Wait, that's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
If we need more food from less land, why are farmers leaving land empty even for a single season?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It suggests vulnerability. It could be that the rainfall is becoming more erratic, so they skip a season because they don't want to risk losing the seed money.
So it's a distress signal.
It's a huge distress signal. Or maybe they are too poor to afford the input. Seeds and fertilizer are expensive, so they just let the land sit. An increase in fallow land is a sign of agrarian distress.
That connects perfectly to the broader economic picture the NCERT paints. It talks about the structural shift. Usually when a country gets rich, people stop farming and start working in factories or in IT.
Yes, that's the classic model. The contribution of agriculture to the GDP drops. That absolutely happened in India. It used to be huge. Now it's much smaller compared to the services sector.
Right.
But, and this is the unique Indian problem, the number of people depending on that land for their livelihood didn't drop at the same speed.
So the money moved to the cities, but a huge chunk of the population is still stuck on the farms.
Exactly. And the land itself is stuck. The industrial sector needs space to grow. The service sector needs land for smart cities and office parks. They are hungry for land. But agriculture is still holding on to a huge chunk of the reporting area because it has to feed 1 billion people and support hundreds of millions of livelihoods.
It feels claustrophobic just talking about it.
It is. The pressure is immense. And since we can't make the farm bigger, we can't stretch the borders of India, we only have one option left.
Which is?
We have to make the land work harder. We have to make it more productive.
This brings us to Section 2, Agriculture Seasons and Systems. The text mentions cropping intensity. This sounds like a gym workout for soil.
It basically is. It's about density of time, not space. If you have 1 acre of land and you grow rice in the summer, that's 1 acre of production. But if you can then grow wheat on that same acre in the winter,
You've just produced 2 acres worth of food.
on 1 acre of land, you've doubled your intensity.
The formula in the book is gross cropped area divided by net sown area times 100.
Correct. In our example, 2 divided by 1 is 2, so 200% cropping intensity.
And since we are, as the book says, land scarce but labor surplus.
We have plenty of hands to work. We just need to give them work to do all year round. Raising cropping intensity is the only viable strategy for Indian food security going forward. You can't expand the land, so you must expand the time you use it.
But to do that, you can't just wish for crops to grow. You need water. And you need to understand the rhythm of the Indian year, the seasons.
The 3 seasons?
The NCERT breaks this down into Kharif, Rabi, and Zaid. Let's walk through these, because I know for a fact the UPSC loves to trap people on which crop belongs in which season.
They do. It's a perennial favorite. Let's start with Kharif.
Kharif is the monsoon season, right? The big one.
Yes. Roughly June to September. This is the season of the southwest monsoon. Think heat and high humidity.
So the crops here basically want a hot bath.
Pretty much. They need a lot of water. Rice is the absolute king here. But also maize, jowar, bajra, and pulses like tur or arhar dal. And crucially, the big commercial crops like cotton and jute.
You mentioned a trap earlier. I recall a specific prelims question, 2013, I believe.
Yes, that's the one. Prelims 2013. The question gave a list. Cotton, groundnut, rice, and wheat. And it asked, which of the above are Kharif crops?
Okay, so cotton is Kharif. We just said that. Rice is the king of Kharif. Groundnut also needs that monsoon rain. But wheat.
Wheat is the imposter there. Wheat is a temperate crop. It hates the heat and humidity. If you plant wheat in the boiling wet monsoon of July, it will just rot in the ground.
So it needs cool weather.
It needs cool weather. So the answer had to exclude wheat. It was cotton, groundnut, and rice.
A perfect example of how they test this. Okay, so Kharif ends around September, October. The rain stops, the air gets drier. Then we move into Rabi.
Rabi is the winter season, October to March. In North India, the temperature drops significantly. This allows us to grow those temperate and subtropical crops that we couldn't grow in the summer.
This is wheat territory.
Prime wheat territory, but also gram, chickpeas for chana, and mustard.
Mustard fields. That's that classic Bollywood image, isn't it? The endless yellow flowers.
Exactly. The whole Dilwal, Dilhania, Lajayenge vibe. That is a quintessential Rabi crop image. These crops need cool climates to germinate, and then they need a little bit of warmth in March and April to ripen up for harvest.
And then there's that awkward gap. April, May, June. It is scorching hot. The monsoon hasn't arrived yet. The winter is long gone. What grows then?
That is Zaid, the short, hot summer season. And honestly, nothing grows here naturally because it is just too dry. You can only farm in the Zaid season if you have access to irrigation.
You need your own water supply.
A tube, well, a canal, something. This is where we get the watermelons.
Ah, of course. Summer fruits.
Watermelons, cucumbers, vegetables, and fodder for animals. Quick crops that can handle the intense heat as long as you keep watering them.
Now here is where the expert nuance comes in. The text says this distinct Kharif Rabi Zaid cycle is basically a North Indian thing. Why is that?
Yes, this is a crucial geographical concept. Think about it. If you go to Tamil Nadu or Kerala in January, what is winter?
I mean, it's pleasant, but it's not cold. You don't need a sweater.
Exactly. The temperature never drops low enough to kill tropical crops like rice. So in the south, you don't have a wheat season. It is too hot for wheat even in January.
So if they have water.
Provided they have water from a river or a tank, farmers in the south can grow rice in Kharif, rice in Rabi, and rice in Zaid.
Rice all day, every day.
Literally. The seasonality blurs in the tropics. The strict division is a feature of the subtropics, the north, where you get a real winter.
That makes so much sense. Now let's talk about that water. We mentioned Zaid needs irrigation. The source material classifies farming based on its main moisture source, irrigated versus rain-fed.
Right.
But under-irrigated, it uses two terms that sound like insurance jargon. Protective versus productive. What's the difference?
In a way, they are insurance terms. Think of protective irrigation as life support for the plant.
Life support.
Yes. Imagine a farmer in a dry region like Rajasthan. He plants a crop hoping for rain. The rain is delayed by a week, 2 weeks. The crop starts to wilt. He turns on his pump just enough to keep the plant alive until the rain comes.
So he isn't trying to break any production records?
No, not at all. He is just trying to prevent total failure. He wants to harvest something rather than nothing. The goal is protection from drought.
And productive irrigation.
Productive is the Green Revolution model. Punjab, Haryana. There, you aren't waiting for rain as a backup. You are flooding the field intentionally because the high-yield seeds demand a huge amount of water. You are using water as a raw material to maximize your yield to boost productivity.
So protective is defense, productive is offense.
That is a perfect way to put it, yes.
And then we have the poor guys playing defense without a pump, the rainfed, or Barani farming. The text splits this into dryland and wetland. What's the cutoff here?
The magic number is 75 centimeters of annual rainfall.
Okay, 75 centimeters.
If you get less than 75 centimeters, you are in dryland agriculture. Here, the entire game is about moisture conservation. You are fighting every single day to keep a little bit of water in the soil.
And you grow different crops.
You have to. You grow tough, hardy, drought-resistant crops, Rabi, Bajra, Guar. These plants are survivors.
And if you get more than 75 centimeters,
Then you're in wetland farming. Here, lack of water isn't the problem. Sometimes having too much water is the problem. You might need flood control. But you can grow the really thirsty crops. Rice, jute, sugarcane.
speaking of thirsty crops, let's look at what is actually filling the Indian stomach. Section 3. The food basket. The source says food grains cover 2/3 of the total cropped area. That is massive.
It is. It just shows the subsistence nature of our agriculture. We aren't farming primarily for export or for industrial ethanol. We are farming to put dinner on the table for 1.4 billion people. It's a food-first system.
The text divides food grains into cereals and pulses. Let's start with the cereals, the heavy hitters. Rice. The source calls it the staple for the majority.
It is, and the diversity is just staggering. The book says 3,000 varieties. It grows from sea level in Kerala up to 2,000 meters in the Himalayas. But I love the specific detail it gives about West Bengal.
Oh, the 3 crops a year.
Yes. In the delta regions of West Bengal, the farmers are so skilled and the water is so available that they grow 3 consecutive crops of rice a year. And they even have local names for them: Akonis, Aman, and Boro.
That's incredible intensity.
It just shows you the depth of cultivation in the eastern part of the country.
But there's a paradox here. The source mentions that while rice is traditionally a humid crop, it's native to East and South India, the highest yields are actually in Punjab and Haryana. How does that work?
This is the legacy of the Green Revolution again. Punjab and Haryana are naturally semi-arid. Ecologically speaking, they shouldn't be growing rice. It's like trying to grow palm trees in Canada.
So how they do it?
They force it. They brute force it with technology. Canal irrigation from the Himalayan rivers and millions of tube wells pumping out groundwater. And because they can control the water perfectly, unlike the rain-dependent East, their yields per hectare are massive.
But it must come at a cost.
A terrible environmental cost, which we will definitely discuss in the challenges section.
Okay. Then we have wheat. Strictly Rabi.
Yeah.
Strictly a winter crop.
Yes. It's concentrated in that great arc of the Indo-Gangetic Plain, Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, parts of Rajasthan, and MP. The yield in Punjab is over 4,000 kilograms per hectare, which is world-class.
Let's give some love to the coarse grains. They often get ignored in the rice-wheat debate, but I feel like they're having a bit of a moment now with the focus on millets.
They are, and rightly so. We should call them climate warriors. Jowar, Bajra, maize, ragi.
Why warriors?
Because they can survive where rice and wheat would simply die. Jowar is the main food crop in the semi-arid parts of Central and South India. Bajra is incredibly tough. It thrives in the hot, dry sands of Rajasthan and Gujarat. They are insurance crops.
And maize?
Maize is the versatile one. It is food for humans, and it's also fodder for cattle. And interestingly, it is not tied to a specific region as tightly as the others. You find it growing all over the country.
Finally, in the food basket, we have pulses.
All
We
right.
love our dal.
They do. India is a leading producer and also a leading consumer. But ecologically, pulses are magic.
Magic.
They are legumes. They have these little nodules in their roots that host bacteria. And these bacteria can take nitrogen from the air and fix it into the soil, making it available for plants. They are natural fertilizers.
So growing pulses is like giving the soil a vitamin shot.
Exactly. It enriches the soil for the next crop, which makes it all the more tragic that we are growing less of them in some areas, but we'll get to that.
Okay, let's move to section 4. Commercial crops. We are talking cash now, not just food, oilseeds, and fiber.
Right. Oilseeds are vital for cooking oil. The big ones are groundnut, rapeseed, mustard, and soybean. Groundnut holds the largest share, and it's mainly grown in peninsular India. Mustard is a winter, or Rabi, crop, very sensitive to frost, so you see it in north and central India.
But I want to focus on the fiber crops, because there is some serious history here. Cotton and jute. The source mentions that the partition of India in 1947 had a huge impact on these 2 crops. I never really connected political borders to agriculture in that way before.
It was a massive economic shock, a surgical line drawn on a map that completely severed ancient supply chains. Think about how the British organized the economy. They had growing areas and manufacturing areas, and they didn't care about provincial boundaries.
And then the national boundary just cut right through them.
Yeah. It cut right through them. Let's take jute. Most of the jute mills, the factories that made the burlap sacks and ropes, were concentrated around Kolkata on the Hooghly River.
Okay, so the industry was in West Bengal.
But the best jute-growing areas, the fertile, wet delta lands, went to East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh.
So India had the factories, but no raw material.
Exactly. The mills were starving for jute. It was a crisis. It forced India to aggressively expand jute cultivation within West Bengal to feed its own mills. That is why West Bengal accounts for 3/4 of our production today.
And was it a similar story for cotton?
A very similar story, just flipped. The prime irrigated cotton lands in the Indus River Basin went to West Pakistan today. But the big textile mills were in Mumbai and Ahmedabad in India.
So we lost the best cotton fields, but kept the textile industry.
Yes. Again, we had the factories with no cotton. India had to scramble to find new areas and new technologies to grow these crops domestically to save its massive textile industry.
The source mentions a specific climatic requirement for cotton. It needs a clear sky during the flowering stage. Why is that so important?
It's critical. The cotton grows inside a boll. When it's mature, that boll bursts open to reveal the white fiber. If it rains heavily at that exact moment,
the cotton gets wet and ruined.
It gets ruined. The fiber gets stained. It can get moldy. It turns black and rots. The quality is destroyed. That is why it is grown in semi-arid areas like Maharashtra and the Deccan Plateau, where the monsoon has usually withdrawn by the time the cotton is ready to bloom.
That is a great detail. Okay, we have hinted at it a few times, but now let's face it head on. Section 5, the Green Revolution in Technology, the mid-1960s. The turning point for everything we've discussed.
We have to set the scene. Before this, India was in a ship-to-mouth existence. We were importing grain from America just to survive. We were facing famines. It was a national security crisis.
And then came the miracle seeds.
Then came the high-yielding varieties, HYVs, wheat from Mexico, developed by Norman Borlaug, and rice from the International Rice Research Institute in the Philippines.
But the source emphasizes that it wasn't just about the seeds. It was a packaged technology. What did that mean?
This is critical. You couldn't just throw an HYV seed in the ground and walk away expecting a miracle. These seeds were, you could call them divas. They were high maintenance.
High maintenance how?
They needed the package.
Right.
The seed plus heavy doses of chemical fertilizer, plus assured irrigation, plus pesticides to protect them. If you miss one component, say you used the seed but didn't have enough water, the crop would fail worse than the traditional seeds.
So it was an all-or-nothing bet. You had to go all in.
Exactly. And this all-or-nothing package approach explains the uneven spread of the revolution, which brings us to a specific PYQ linkage. Mainz, 2014.
What was the question?
It was a brilliant question and asked, why did the Green Revolution in India virtually bypass the eastern region despite fertile soil and good availability of water?
That is a great question. Because if you look at a map, eastern India, Bihar, West Bengal, Odisha, has the best soil, the Gangetic alluvial plains, and plenty of river water. But the Green Revolution took off in the semi-arid Northwest. Why?
It comes down to money and institutions. The package required cash. You had to buy the seeds, you had to buy the fertilizer, you had to drill tube wells for irrigation. The farmers in the East were generally poorer with tiny, fragmented land holdings.
They just couldn't afford the risk.
They couldn't afford the risk, and the institutional credit, the banks, weren't there to lend to them at that time. But in Punjab and Haryana, the land holdings were slightly larger, the farmers were more consolidated, and the government pumped in massive support for infrastructure. They had the risk-taking capacity to buy into the expensive package.
So even though nature favored the East, economics and policy favored the Northwest.
Precisely. And the impact was massive. We became self-reliant in food grains. Agro-industries boomed. But it had a dark side. In Punjab and Haryana, fertilizer consumption skyrocketed to 3 or 4 times the national average.
Which leads us directly into the bill coming due. Section 6. Challenges in Indian agriculture. The source starts with the twin menace.
Droughts and floods. It's the fundamental vulnerability. Despite all our dams and canals, irrigation only covers about 33% or 1/3 of the cultivated area.
That is a staggering statistic. 2/3 of our farmers are essentially gambling with the sky.
They are. They are looking at the clouds and praying. If the monsoon fails, their crop fails. If the monsoon comes too strong and floods their field, their crop fails. It's incredibly precarious.
And even when they do farm, they're facing huge economic constraints. The source shows a picture of a modern machine, a roto-till drill, but can the average Indian farmer afford that?
Not when 60% of our farmers are classified as marginal farmers, operating on less than 1 hectare of land. These are tiny plots. Imagine trying to use a Ferrari on a go-kart track.
It's just not viable.
Mechanization is difficult and unaffordable on such small patches. It leads to high input costs for everything, and if the crop fails, they have no buffer. They fall into a debt trap.
And then there is the environmental crisis. Land degradation. We talked about how Punjab grows rice despite being semi-arid. What is all that irrigation doing to the soil?
It is causing widespread alkalinization and salinization.
Can you explain that process? What's happening?
Well, when you flood a field with canal or groundwater in a hot, dry climate, the water evaporates very quickly. But the salts and minerals that were dissolved in the water get left behind on the surface.
Okay.
Over years and years of this cycle, this salt builds up and forms a white crust on the soil. It literally poisons the land, making it toxic for crops. The source says 8 million hectares of land in India have been affected by this.
We have a mains 2020 question connection here. The process of desertification does not have climatic boundaries. Justify with examples.
This is the perfect example to use. Punjab is not a desert climatically, it has rivers. But human action, excessive irrigation, chemical overload, and growing the wrong crops is turning fertile soil into a saline wasteland. It is man-made desertification.
The source also mentioned something called lagoon displacement.
Right. Remember our magic pulses, the natural fertilizer.
Yes, the ones that fix nitrogen.
Well, with the government's focus on minimum support prices, or MSP, for wheat and rice, it became much more profitable for farmers to grow those crops back to back, so they stopped growing pulses in between.
So we traded long-term soil health for short-term guaranteed cash.
Exactly. And without the pulses to naturally replenish the soil gets exhausted. So what do? You dump more urea, more chemical fertilizer to compensate, which further kills the soil's natural microorganisms. It is a vicious, destructive cycle.
And finally, the ultimate resource constraint. Water scarcity. The source notes that per capita water availability in India is dwindling rapidly.
And this links to another mains 2020 question about the melting of Himalayan glaciers. Think about it. The rivers that feed the great canals of North India, the Sutlej, the Beas, the Ganga, the very lifeblood of the Green Revolution, they originate in those glaciers.
So if the glaciers shrink,
the base flow of the rivers drops, especially in the dry season. The entire irrigation system that our food security is built on is under a massive long-term threat from climate change.
It is a sobering reality. We started this conversation with simple land records, moved through the seasons, celebrated the production boom of the Green Revolution, and now we see the environmental bill is coming due.
That is the complete story of Indian agriculture in the last 50 years. A triumph of production, but a looming crisis of sustainability.
So let's try and wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground. We went from the confusion of land records and phantom forests
to the rhythm of cropping intensity, the seasons of Kharif and Rabi,
the specifics of the major crops, and the double-edged sword that was the Green Revolution.
I think the key takeaway for anyone preparing for the exam is this. The extensive margin is closed. We cannot clear more forests to make more farms. That path is finished.
So the only way forward is the intensive margin.
Exactly. More crops per drop of water, more yield per acre of land. But it has to be done sustainably, or we will lose the land itself to salinization and degradation.
And here is our final provocative thought for the road, something to mull over. We talked about land scarcity. But looking at the future and referencing a potential question like the 2025 mains question on AI and smart cities, will the next green revolution be digital?
That is the big question, isn't it? Will it be about precision agriculture, using drones to check crop health, using AI to predict weather patterns down to the village level, using soil sensors to release just enough water and fertilizer, not a drop more?
So we stop farming on the land and start farming data about the land to save it.
Farming data to save the land. I like that. It might be the only way to feed 1.5 billion people in the coming decades without turning the entire country into a desert.
A huge thank you to our expert for connecting all those dots today. That was incredibly insightful.
It was my pleasure. It's a vital topic.
And a final reminder to you, the listener. If you haven't clicked subscribe on the Simplified UPSC by PPP channel yet, please do it now. It is the single best free way to support us.
And if you can, And only if you can. Please consider supporting us on Patreon. It allows us to keep digging deep into these topics for you week after week.
Don't forget to join the public Telegram channel for the free notes and those practice PYQs we mentioned. And DM us there if you're interested in getting into the private library for all the premium organized notes and model answers.
And please don't forget to like and comment. Let us know what topic you want us to deep dive into next. Your feedback drives what we do.
Until next time, keep learning and keep questioning. See you in the next deep dive.
Goodbye, everyone.